From one exhibition in Florence to another in London, the famous Royal Chelsea Flower Show. The show's been an annual event with the exception of the war years since 1913, and during its long history it's established a reputation as one of the finest horticultural displays in the world. This year's was bigger and better than ever, with almost every kind of cultivated flower and vegetable on view, and all of them in top-class condition. The event is a regular favourite with Britain's royal family. The Queen is patron of the Royal Horticultural Society, the show's organisers, and it also attracts many visitors from abroad. This year, close on 250,000 people shuffled through the turnstiles in 3 days to see a show whose range of exhibits is matched by no other country in the world. The feat of producing flowers of this quality represents months of careful planning and nurturing by nurserymen all over Britain. The problems of getting everything from early spring daffodils to late autumn chrysanthemums to flower together for 3 days in late May means an incredible degree of organisation and sheer hard work for the growers. Often their task is made even more difficult by the ups and downs of the English weather. Tender plants like these maples sometimes have to be dug up from outdoor beds whenever there's a particularly hot day and trundled into cool sheds. In the smaller nurseries, where a good display at Chelsea can make a critical difference to the year's takings, everyone in the family has to be ready to give a hand to move the plants with every change in the weather. And often this could be up to 12 times a day. These magnolias were frozen in a cold store to keep them in bud when they were already over in most people's gardens. Then they were moved about in sunlight to get them to catch up on lost time. Hydrangeas, not due to flower for about 2 months, had to be prodded on in greenhouses with temperatures up to 25 degrees centigrade. But even tactics like these sometimes fail, and the nurserymen have learned to accept heavy losses before the show. Cherry blossoms, for example, moved into the shade to hold them back when they were already a month past their flowering time, just refused to hold back long enough for Chelsea. In most cases, it's a risky race against time and the weather to get the blossoms to keep to an unnatural man-made timetable. The sun's heat sometimes gets through even to protected beds in shady spots. These rhododendrons just couldn't wait until the end of May. The nurserymen have to live up to their name, mothering their plants against frost or sun. But it's a hard-headed tenderness when you have plants like these rare maples worth about £60 for just one tree, and with orders of up to £500,000 likely to come out of the show. Most people can't afford to spend the amount of time and money which the professionals lavish on their show plants, but they still want the same results. The answer is the garden centre, a sort of horticultural supermarket where you can buy plants ready grown. In England, centres like this are springing up all over the country to cater for the Englishman's passionate devotion to his garden. The English are, in fact, among the world's keenest gardeners. There's so much to choose from, it can be confusing unless you've got a clear idea of what you want before you go in. And as in a food supermarket, there's so much to catch the eye, you're tempted to spend far more than you'd intended. The advantages are obvious. You can see precisely what you're buying without having to trust the picture on the packet. And there are no weeks of agonized waiting to see if the seeds are going to sprout. This way you can start with an empty garden in the morning and have it ablaze with colour by sunset the same day. It's the nearest thing you can get to instant, trouble-free, risk-free gardening. Even the instant gardener needs some tools, and they're available in enormous variety, from a simple hoe to a self-propelled lawnmower. It's equipment like this that has helped to make gardening in Britain such a booming industry. About a quarter of the population dabble in gardening, and they spend £125 million a year on their hobby. Once you've planted your instant garden, what else is there to do but sit in it? And that means garden furniture. A set in wrought iron like this can easily cost £100. Moulded concrete plinths and flower tubs are also popular, especially for town gardens where soil is in short supply. Craggy-looking stones for the rockery are twice the price, but half the weight. There are even swimming pools for gardeners who really want to splash out. There are now 700 gardening centres of various sizes in Britain, and the numbers will surely continue to grow as more and more people turn to gardening as a means of relaxation. But whether your attitude towards gardening is fanatical or indifferent, your expertise professional or amateur, it's impossible not to be impressed by the sheer beauty of the displays at Chelsea. In a concentrated form, the show represents the traditional side of British gardening, an activity practiced by millions of devoted and often well-informed amateurs. The show has established itself as a British institution, and as such it's not given to sudden or dramatic changes. Yet even here, the effects of the new trend towards big, self-service garden centres are being felt. Several of the old established nurseries are no longer represented, unable to compete with mass production methods that are coming increasingly to dominate the retail garden trade. What makes the English such prolific gardeners? Part of the reason, perhaps, is that in England the peasantry has largely disappeared. Farmers account for only 4% of the population. So perhaps the English are seeking through their gardens that close connection with the land that they've now lost. Apparently, the fewer that till the soil for profit, the more who feel the need to do so for leisure.